page, YouTube, and on Twitch, streaming live. I am Dr. Matt Edwards, a professor, author, and researcher and creator of the online courses How the Voice Works and Singing with Style. We go live every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk about the voice, to answer questions from singers like you. Now, if this is your first time catching the stream and you're not already on our email list, be sure to jump on over to voicelessons.com and sign up, and you will get an email reminding you when we're going live, and it will also give you a form that you can fill out and submit your own questions. Every week we go through the list, we grab about 6 of them, and we answer them to help you overcome barriers, gain a better understanding of the singing voice, whatever it is that you need to help take your singing to the next level. Usually with me on these live streams is Mike Elson, founder of voicelessons.com, a vocal pedagogue, voice teacher, and a programmer who created this app and all the software. And he is working on some new features today, so I thought I'd just jump on here by myself and take some of the questions that have come in this week. So I want to start with what might seem like a real basic question, but it's actually a good one, which is, how can I sing better? And this comes from Sebastian. Now, a lot of myths and misunderstandings about the singing voice circulate. A lot of singers think that there is only one specific way to sing and that they need to learn that way, and that's just not true. We sing and use our instrument in different ways depending on what style that we're trying to sing. A classical singer is going to have to use acoustic resonance strategies to make sure that their voice can project through a concert hall, whereas a jazz singer only needs to project their voice to the microphone. A country singer may be singing in more of a bluegrass traditional style where they need to project their voice, or they might be singing in more of the Nashville pop style where they are going to take advantage of that microphone. A hip-hop artist is going to use their diction in a way that's going to be completely different from an indie pop singer-songwriter. So every singer needs to coordinate their instrument for whatever style it is that they want to sing. And coordination is the key word there. A lot of people think that singing well is about talent. Well, there may be a talent component, but we're learning a lot about talent that we didn't know 20 years ago. That, for instance, if you grow up in a household where there's lots of music, where your parents or your caregivers encourage you to sing and never teach you to judge your voice, you will grow up using your voice in all kinds of ways that are going to be completely different than someone who grew up in a small apartment with a lot of neighbors where they couldn't use their voice, and their parents said, you can't be that loud, you can't sing that way, right? We perceive that by the time the student gets to be 18 years old as being a talent issue. We'll look at the one student who's got this big full voice and go, oh, they're really talented. And you'll look at the other student who's got this quiet voice and you go, they're not as talented. But that's not true. It's actually the way that they were raised and the way that they developed what we call their motor system along the way. Motor system is just a fancy term we use to describe how the brain communicates with the muscles in our body and coordinates the movement of those muscles. And all great singing relies on the singer's ability to fine-tune their motor system for what is essentially an athletic activity. So Sebastian, you have, I'm assuming, a specific genre or style of music that you want to sing, and right now your instrument isn't coordinated to do the things you need it to do to sing that style. So how do you get better? Well, you take your body through the 3 phases of motor learning, and I'm going to cover those briefly right now. The first phase is the cognitive phase, and the cognitive phase is where you're just starting to discover what it is you don't know and realizing what you can't do. So, if you don't already have a voice teacher, I always suggest that you, find one. If you don't know how to find one, you can reach out to us over here at voicelessons.com. We have a teacher matching system completely free to you. We can even get you set up with a free demo lesson so you can see what a one-on-one private lesson would look like and help you find a teacher for your style and your budget. Now, if you're thinking, well, that's just way out of my budget, I know I can't do that. We also do have an online course for you, and that course is called How the Voice Works. And it's a course that I put together. We filmed it in Hollywood. It's 4 hours long. It's got a 100-page workbook with it. It goes along with a lot of other nice, add-ons of listening examples, a self-assessment test, and it has a whole exercise pack that goes with it. It's on a special right now of $47 for the entire course pack. It's honestly a steal for all that it is. A third of the price of a voice lesson. And you can get a lot of growth out of that. If that's outside your budget, completely understand. You can go back through the archives that we have on our YouTube channel and our Facebook channel and look at me explaining some of the different ways we might use the voice, or go through other voice teachers as well and other people on YouTube and see what they're saying about the voice. While you do that information gathering, you're going to hear somebody make a sound and you're going to realize, oh, I've never thought of it that way before, and I don't know that I can do that. Great. If it's of interest to you, now it's time to start exploring. In that cognitive phase, you're going to work real slow and just try to get it right. So for instance, one of the exercises in my course is how to break tongue tension by isolating the movement of the tongue from the jaw. Put your hands on the side of your face and you just do this. La, 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 la. If you've never done that before, it might be really hard. That's what happens in the cognitive phase. So what you would do is look in a mirror and just keep repeating that exercise until you can do it. When you get better at doing it and you don't necessarily need the mirror to figure it out, that means you're moving towards the motor learning phase. And in the motor learning phase, what you need to be doing is repeating it on your own. And if you catch that you think you might not be doing it right, go back to the mirror, video record yourself, audio record yourself, try to figure out what it is that you're doing wrong, make an adjustment to your movement pattern, and then keep repeating. And after a while, you're going to find that you can just do that exercise without thinking about it at all. That means it's now at the stage of what we call automaticity, which means your brain just automatically does the task when you will your body to do it. You're going to want to look for all the things that you want to be able to do with your voice that you can't currently do and go through those 3 steps of learning. And as you do, you will get better, because what's going to happen is you're going to start improving all of the different motor skills that are necessary for singing the style of music that you want. So you're going to want to look at things like alignment. How does your spine align? How does that get in the way? You're going to want to look at your respiratory system and learn about how to breathe. You're going to want to learn how the vocal folds come together and vibrate to create the buzz or the breathy ethereal quality in your sound. And then you're going to want to look at everything between the vocal folds and the opening of the lips, what we call the vocal tract, and learn to fine tune the movements of the larynx, the soft palate, the tongue, the jaw, and the lips, which will help you alter the timbre of your voice, either making it warmer, making it brighter, making it more nasally, or making it more hooty. Those are all changes that are motor system changes that you can learn through that 3-step process I just showed you. When you get your motor system fine-tuned, then you can start diving into style, and it's when you master the stylistic traits along with the function, the way that your body operates, you really have no choice but to get better at whatever style it is that you're singing, and then it gets fun, because then it becomes about discovering new things that you can't do, learning those, finding songs where you can use those qualities, and you're going to see that your progress just snowballs, and before you know it, you're going to be in the automatic phase on all kinds of skills, and you're going to be able to sing all kinds of songs without overthinking it. So hopefully that helps, Sebastian. If you want to take us up on helping you find a voice teacher, be sure to reach out to us to the voicelessons.com Facebook page, or if you want to check out that course that I mentioned and have me guide you through this process of mapping your vocal tract and exploring all of the movements of your instrument. Again, it's on sale right now for $47. The price isn't going to last. We're getting close to the cutoff mark. We decided to launch this at the discounted price for a limited number of seats, and we're almost at that point. But you can jump on over there, and there is a free webinar you can sign up for if you want to get a little bit of a more in-depth taste of what exactly we're talking about. All right, let's move on to the next question, which comes from Bernard. And Bernard is asking about what causes the voice to break. So I believe what he's talking about is when the voice just like cracks. So if you're going, you try to go up. Or you're going, you get that big, nasty break. It's kind of complex, Bernard, so I'm going to try to keep it as simplistic as I can. You have a muscle in your vocal fold, literally inside your vocal folds, called the thyroarytenoid muscle. And that muscle is a lot like your bicep, and it helps pull your vocal fold shorter, right? Just like this helps shorten up the distance between here and here. If that was a vocal fold, this bicep muscle, what's in your larynx called the thyroarytenoid muscle, when it contracts, it shortens. And it also bulks up your vocal folds a little bit. Then to elongate your vocal folds to sing high notes, you have to engage an antagonistic muscle. In my arm, that's the tricep. When I engage the tricep, it elongates my arm. Well, in the vocal folds, that muscle is called the cricothyroid muscle. So when you're working through your range, you have 2 muscles pulling in opposite directions, and they have to coordinate their movement. And when they don't get it right, what happens is one muscle takes over, and all of a sudden the other muscle lets go abruptly, and the vocal folds open up, pop back together into a different vibrational mode, and we hear the break in the voice. So that's what's happening. There's some other things that are at play. There's vowel shape that's at play, resonance strategies at play. There's 2 other muscles in your larynx called the lateral cricoarytenoid muscle and the inner arytenoid muscle that also come into play that help regulate how firmly those vocal folds are pressed together. Now, if you're struggling with these voice breaks, what that means is you have to coordinate your vocal folds' ability to alter between qualities of buzziness and breathiness. So the best way to do that is to start at one and then slowly fade into the other. So let's start with buzziness and then fade away into breathiness. It would be like this. Ah. When I do that sound, and I would, if I was practicing it, stretch that out to be about twice as long as what I just did. I'm coordinating those muscles that are working together. Now I'm going to do it the opposite way. I'm going to go from breathy to full. Again, I'm coordinating those muscles. Now, you're probably thinking, well, that's only on a single pitch, and you're right. But that's the best place to start to get those muscles coordinated. And once they are coordinated, you're going to start stretching over a fifth. Okay, so you're going to start in that nice buzzy place, and then you're going to go up into a breathy place. And then do the opposite. That's a more complex task, and it's going to start to take your motor skill development to a new level, to the level of coordination that you're going to need to change pitches in a song. So if you do those exercises every day, you're going to start building that motor skill that goes in line with what I just answered on Sebastian's question of taking you through that cognitive phase, the motor learning phase, and then the automatic phase. And if you do that enough, then you'll start jumping into songs. And when you feel that crack coming, you're going to be able to start lightening up ahead of time. So instead of doing, you're going to realize, oh, I got to thin out right before that break. Then when you go down, you're going to not just break going, but you're going to slowly blend from that breathiness to the buzziness. And then you can get through any of the breaks in your voice. Once you can do that on just a steady scale up, steady scale down, then you can start playing around with, well, what happens if I delay the change? Or what happens if I accelerate the change? And the more you do that work, the better your coordination is going to get. And before you know it, you're not going to be cracking anymore when you are working through those breaks in your voice. So I hope that helps. If you have any follow-up questions, just drop them in the comment section. We'll keep an eye out for them, and we can follow up with you. The next question is, how do I make my voice loud when singing? And this comes from, I apologize if I mispronounce this, but I believe it's Oluwagbotemi. So I'm going to just, for now, abbreviate it as O, because I would hate to be butchering your pronunciation of your name. So what I would say is that in this case, what we're dealing with is weakness in those muscles that help pull the vocal folds together. And those muscles are the ones I just mentioned in the last question, and I called them the lateral cricoarytenoid muscle and the interarytenoid muscle. Now, it's not necessary for you to memorize those, except I do think it helps for you to know what their action is. The action is that when they contract, they swing the vocal folds together and then narrow the space in the back, what we call the posterior chink. And when you do that narrowing and closing action, it brings the vocal folds together more firmly. And when you bring the vocal folds together more firmly, you can use more air pressure, and that extra air pressure, along with thicker and more firmly closed vocal folds, is going to produce a louder vocal quality. Now, the best way to start exploring that is through what we call chest register exercises or thick fold exercises. And the first one is just pulsing a low note in your range on ack. So we're going to go ack, 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 right? So if you're not used to singing loud, it might be coming out ack, ack, ack. That's fine. If that's the case, you're going, well, how do I make it louder? We're going to tap into what's called primal instinct. What I want you to do is imagine that there's somebody that's like 50 foot away from you and you need to call their name. All right, so I'll use my wife's name. I'm going to say, Jackie, Jackie. I don't have to think to call her name out across a parking lot if I'm trying to find her after we've been shopping. I just instinctually do it. Well, 90% or probably even 99% of people are capable of calling out like that. Right? There may be some health conditions that get in the way, and if that's the case, you need to go consult a laryngologist or a speech-language pathologist. But I'm going to assume that's not the case. So what I want you to do is do that calling exercise, saying, hey, or Jackie, and then use that quality on that ack place. Ack, 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 ack. It's that calling quality. That calling quality, along with that ack sound, is going to coordinate the action of the muscles that bring those vocal folds together, and it's going to start building the new neurological connections necessary to move you into that automatic phase where you don't have to think about it anymore. So after you've done that for several days, maybe a couple weeks, and it's starting to feel comfortable where you can just go ack, 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 then you're ready to start sustaining. We're going to do the acks into a sustained ah. Ack, 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 ah. You're going to work that up and down throughout your range. Ack, 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 ah. After a while, that's going to feel real comfortable. When that's comfortable, I want you to go and start putting it on just a single vowel, the ah. Ah. And then I want you to hold it as long as you can. Why? Well, that's the equivalent of doing a plank. You know what a plank is for your abdominal wall? That's when you get down on the ground, you get up on your tippy toes, and then on your forearms or just on your hands, and you hold your body up in the air and you tighten your abs to try to keep your back in alignment. Well, we call that an isometric exercise, right? You're sustaining the contraction of a muscle to strengthen it. Well, when you hold a note for as long as possible, you're strengthening that muscle by contracting it for an elongated time. So I want you to do that as your next step. Then when you get comfortable with that sustained pitch, start to move it. So going ah, or make it an even longer phrase. Take that up as high as it will go. And that should start bringing extra volume into your singing voice. Then the next step is to go back in this video about 5 minutes ago where I was talking with Bernard about what causes the voice to break, and I showed him the fading exercise. And the next thing you're going to want to do is start doing those fading exercises and the crescendoing exercise where you start breathing and you get nice and buzzy. And what that's going to do is start teaching your body how to get in and out of the loud voice, both on a single pitch and then across a wider range. And as you develop that skill, you're going to start to gain the coordination necessary to increase the volume of your voice in any part of your range in any song that you want to sing. Now, if you're in doubt of whether you're doing it right or not, you can feel free to do a self-recording of yourself and submit it to us through Messenger or through our website. We'll be happy to look at it and give you some feedback. But I find that most singers who take this little exercise regimen and commit to it see pretty significant results in the about 2 to 3 months. All right, so go play with it. I think it's going to help you out. Next, I want to jump to what looks like a voice teacher question from F. Roy, who asks, how does one help a student who has a hard time matching pitch? This is a tricky one, and I'm just going to give you a few tips. There's lots of them that we can do. So the first thing I would say is that the student needs to be producing vibrations at that vocal fold level in order to hear how those vibrations line up with a keyboard, right? So if I get a pitch on my keyboard, I can hear the buzziness, and I got to line up with that. If I'm singing breathy and going, I'm going to have a hard time hearing how it locks in. But if I get a buzzy quality, I'll start to hear that those vibrations don't sync up. So then what I'm going to do if I'm working with a student is either point up and say start slowly dragging up or start slowly coming down. And then I use my hand with speed to show them how quick or slow to slide. So if it's, let's say I'm really way below this pitch. So you take them up quick, then you start to slow them down and then point when they lock into the pitch. Then after they get that pitch, say, let's try it again to just start on that. And then just say, sing with me now. And you might say, well, that's the octave below. There you go. Do it again. When they get that, say, now let's see if we can go a half step up. They may give you where they're off. If that happens, you're going to use that same signal. Say, you're slightly under, go up. Right there. Now, this means that the student's in the cognitive phase. And in that cognitive phase, they need a lot of support from you because they literally don't know what's going on. So it's okay that this is going to last for up to 6 or 8 weeks. You may find that it's 6 to 8 weeks of just doing that. Okay. So what do you do to supplement that lesson time? Well, you can do just speech-based exercises like tongue twisters, diddle daddle, deedle daddle, do, boomba chicka, boomba chicka. We could do Frank will think the bank, see how fast we can get it moving. So that way you're tuning up the articulator so that once the vocal folds start locking into pitch easily, you still have another part of the instrument working. You can work on physical alignment to make sure that they understand how their spine aligns to the 6 places of balance, or you can also tune into the respiratory system and help them coordinate that action as well. And then, of course, you could start teaching them how to play their own vocal exercises on the piano. And now that everyone has a smartphone, they can find a piano app. They don't have to have a real keyboard. They just use that piano app. So they can do this work at home. Now, sometimes that's not going to be enough. If I find that they're really struggling to know what those vibrations are, sometimes resting a hand on the side of a wooden piano, they can feel the vibrations. Sometimes having them lean their head on the edge of the piano to feel the vibrations that way. A tuning fork can be really good because if you whack the tuning fork and then place it on the forehead, they will feel those vibrations. They'll hear them through their conductive hearing. And when they hear that sound through the conductive hearing, they can a lot of times match up their voice to it. That's another strategy you can do. We also have some research that suggests that the left ear is the dominant ear for hearing pitch. So sometimes I'll have them cup their ear like this and then sing and match the pitch. And if this gives them the help they need, I then have them slowly take their hand away and see if they can maintain it. I have a student I just helped with this exact issue, and he now only every once in a while has to cup his left ear. He hears his pitch. He's back in. He's doing great. He's a performer who actually has his choice of which agent he wants to sign with to go to New York and start booking gigs, where about a year ago, you give him a new song, and he really struggled and sounded off. So there's plenty of hope. This happens. It works, right? So you got to sometimes tune up that left ear, get them sinking in with what those vibrations are, and then get them to drill it every day and help them understand that I know, that you acknowledge it's frustrating, but that it's a motor skill, that they're in the cognitive phase, which means they're in that brand new learning part of this. And that if they do it enough, it's going to eventually accelerate to the point that they can do it on their own without your guidance. And then usually within about 3 or 4 months, they're going to be able to sing simple patterns, maybe even simple songs without having to worry at all about what their voice is, going to be on pitch or not. Okay. So hope that helps. If you have any questions further, drop them in the comments and we'll chime in here after the show and we'll answer that for you. So the next question comes from Alyssa. And so Alyssa says, how do I develop a stronger voice as a young lady? So, Alyssa, I am going to assume as I answer this question that you are an estrogen dominant singer. Okay, one of the things when we're talking about gender and the singing voice, there are traditional vocal qualities associated with the female gender or femininity, and there are specific vocal qualities associated with masculinity. But your hormonal makeup of your body, what you were born with, or if you've had some transitioning with medication, is going to have the biggest impact on what happens at the vocal fold level. And that's what we have to go with when helping you learn to sing and fix issues like this. So, Alyssa, if you were born as an estrogen dominant singer, and that's what you still are, I'm going to answer the question from that point of view. And if that's not where you are, just send us a message. We'll help you out in what you need to do if you're transitioning vocal qualities. Usually what is going on with young women is what's called a posterior chink. Okay, so your vocal folds come together in the front, right behind this little bump that sticks out in your larynx. They connect in the front and they're open in the back. And when young women go through puberty, where their voice changes, their larynx drops inside of their neck, literally drops 2 vertebrae of where it was located pre-puberty, and the vocal folds almost double in size. And when that happens, you're stretching all kinds of things in new directions, and the muscles end up weak, and they lose the coordination that they had before all of this happened. And what often results is a gap in the back of the vocal folds called the posterior chink. And this posterior chink is extremely common in young women singers 18 and below. We start to see improvements around 18, and then as we move into 19, 20, and 21, it's usually gone if you've been training your voice to help it go away. Now, there are strategies that we can use, but there is also just sometimes nature needs to take its course. Your voice just needs time to grow, okay? So with these exercises, I don't want you to force anything, because what can happen is if you force the issue, you end up actually creating tensions that are going to be problematic when you get on the other side of age 18. And we don't want you singing with a bunch of tension that's going to inhibit your progress down the road. We want to address the issue now as best as we can, and then deal with everything, from a point of freedom to help you really cultivate your vocal quality. Now, one of the best exercises you can do is staccati. Because with staccati, what's happening is you are activating that muscle in the back that will help close that glottal opening. So staccati is just going with that really quick attack, going ha, 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 and then taking it up your range. Ha, 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 ha. You're going to start in the bottom and work into the middle as comfortable as you can go. Then you can start putting it on a movement pattern. Ha, 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 ha. Again, just training those vocal fold muscles to close. Now, after you've done that, you're going to want to stretch out your vocal folds a little bit. So we're going to jump in to what we call the head voice, which is that hooty, breathy quality in the upper part of your range. The hooty quality, because we want to make sure your vocal folds don't get stuck together. Also, we want to make sure your larynx doesn't get too high. That's why we keep it hooty. And the breathiness to make sure that your body doesn't ever get stuck in only being able to keep those vocal folds closed. Because if it does, it's going to cause you problems down the road. So we're going to be doing or we can do E. Now, if you're having a hard time getting strength in that part of your voice, that could be the glottal chink. It could just be something that's just out of your range right now, but if you keep working on it every day, it will start to improve because your body is just going to naturally mature a bit. You may be having difficulty because your soft palate isn't lifting up. If that's the case, what I want you to do is to grab a flashlight, and I want you to look inside your mouth and look for that little uvula, that little dangly little thing swinging in the back of your throat, as Cardi B would say. So you want to look for that, and then you want to try to lift it up in the air. So you just want to look in a mirror and go, and once it's up in the air, that's going to open the back of your throat so that the sound can get out. You see, if that soft palate's too low, then sound gets stuck, it goes into your nose, and there's some acoustic things that need to happen that can't happen, and therefore you're not going to be able to produce the strength that you want. So first just lift it up in the air and then sigh through it. Ah! Then as you sigh through it, and start to then try to put pitches to it. Ah! Keeping it up in the air. If you do that and see an improvement, then your soft palate being low is probably one of the things that's getting in your way. Sometimes our tongue is trying to fall down in the back, going, and that will block our sound. So if that's the case, I want you to go gee, 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 and pay attention to how the tongue arches up to form that G sound. Then when you get that G happening, I want you to then get your tongue to arch like that for a plain E vowel. E, or up in that head voice. And if that gets you clarity, then it's your tongue. If none of those things work, you probably either want to get with a coach to get some one-on-one advice, or we're going to assume that it's that posterior chink that's in the way, and we just need to keep practicing until that sound shows up. Then what I want you to do is to jump back to about 10 minutes into this live Q&A and look for the little subtitle on the bottom. It says, what causes the voice to break? I was answering a question for Bernard. And in that answer, I told him how to do these exercises where you start your voice buzzy and you go to breathy, then you start breathy and go to buzzy. You're going to want to start practicing that because that's the next step to help you start to really learn what's the difference between having an opening in the back and not having an opening in the back. And as you start to coordinate your body's ability to transition between those two qualities, you're going to start to have the ability to regulate how breathy or how edgy your voice is when you do get into the upper part of your range. So jump on over, and like I said, back, it's about 10 minutes into this, you're going to find that answer and or find that demonstration of those exercises, and I would integrate those as well because those they're magical exercises. They're essential, critical skill development exercises that every singer needs to work on when developing their voice. So hopefully that will help. Now, if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. If you think that maybe you want a private coach to help you go through this, we can match you with somebody who specializes in working with younger voices. Teachers who do this on a regular basis can give you a realistic timetable for you as an individual based off of what you're giving them. Some singers, you show them these exercises, there's an immediate improvement. Other singers, you show them these exercises, and 6 months later, it's improving, but it's still not where they want. You're not doing anything wrong. It's not talent. It's not a talent issue. It's just where your body is in that moment in time. And so just accept that that's part of who you are because there's no one else like you, Alyssa. You are the one and only you. And some of the, maybe breathy qualities in your voice right now might be great for singing songs about issues that are impacting you in your life right now. So what I would say is gravitate towards those songs that mean something to you that really benefit from that more breathy vocal quality. Then as you continue to get a little bit older, you're going to have more life experience, more things to sing about, and simultaneously your voice is going to be getting stronger. So the next thing you know, you're going to be able to sing songs, maybe, I don't wish this on you, but breakup songs where you're kind of angry, like Before He Cheats by Carrie Underwood, we're talking about destroying somebody's car. And, you've been through that breakup, you're in a destructive mode and you want to bring in chest voice. Well, as you get older and you have that life experience and your voice gets stronger, you'll be in a better spot to sing songs like that. Okay. So I hope that helps. If you have any follow-up questions, either drop them in the chat and I'll answer them after the show or, reach out to us with a private message and we're happy to help. All right. And that brings us to the end of tonight's show. If you want to check out, again, that course that I mentioned, it's How the Voice Works. Again, there's a free webinar. It'll go even more in depth into some of these concepts that I've talked about tonight. Pardon me. When I do these shows solo, I can't keep up with the chat. So I apologize if you've been dropping comments in the chat and I haven't been able to keep up with you. I'm going to go back through the chat here after the show. I got to teach a couple lessons real quick after I jump off here, but then I'll jump into the chat later on tonight and I'll answer any questions that have come up over there. In our system, it's really hard to keep the captions going and the chat going. So I apologize for that. But it's always great to be here with singers, sharing this knowledge. It's important to remember that the singing voice is part of your body. It's a motor system. You can strengthen it. You can coordinate it. And there is a pathway to success for everyone. There is no singular right approach. You have to find the approach that works best for you and find the approach that works best for the styles of music that you like to sing. So once again, I am Dr. Matt Edwards. We do these live Q&As every Thursday night here on the voicelessons.com Facebook page, YouTube channel, and Twitch channel. So be sure to give us a like or a subscribe so you can get notifications every time we go live. We usually leave these up for at least a month, and then they usually get taken down and put into our archives, which are a free bonus if you buy one of our online courses. So if you're wondering where the past videos are, that's where they are. We have a total of, I think, 40 or 50 hours of answers to questions from singers all around the world. And it's always fun to sit and have these conversations. So be sure to tune in with us again next Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mike's going to be back next week. And I look forward to seeing you in. Be sure to send us your questions